always late, but never, well,
on time.
That's the
That we
one.
never finish on time. We say we're going to take an hour,
And then we never do.
and now
What's
we're going
the?
to go in later.
There's like zero people. What am I thinking of? Oh, never on time, but worth the wait. Yeah, that's the one. That's what. When we get one person, I'm gonna say that.
When we get our first viewer of the night. Yeah, we didn't promote this at all. I did a poor job. I remembered it like 30 minutes ago, Vito. I was
Hey,
like, oh shit.
we've been doing it consistently on Mondays. I think everybody knows there was no selection Monday. It all happened yesterday, so this is a good time. One person's watching, so I'm gonna say it. Yes, we were late, but we're worth the wait.
I hate it.
I,
I'm gonna
I
get it tattooed on a tramp stamp though.
oh, there's so much better places to get tattoos. Yes, I call them tattoos, like from Bob's Burgers.
I hate. I love that actually specifically.
Stop calling it tattoo.
Vito, a lot happened in a week.
There's
I
a
think
lot
this
of
is
sports that happened, but everyone expected happened as well.
yes. The thing that we have been alluding to for the past. When did we start this show? Because we mentioned it on the first time that we did the roundup. So it's been what, 6 weeks?
Well, yeah, I think the first one we did was probably early to mid-January.
Yeah, damn. So finally, is it the Magna Opus? What is it?
Yeah,
The
something like
coup
that.
de grace has finally happened. But we'll get to that too a second. Vito, how's it going? How's life treating you?
It is swell. You know what? It's the week before I go on 2-week vacation to Italy, so
There we go.
gonna have so much pizza, pasta, and wine, and then you guys won't have me. It'll just be the Stieg show. I think I'm pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm on the other side, but yeah, well, to someone's point of view, it is correct. I'm over here compared to where Vito is over here or there.
Yep. Or up or down, depending on what it is. But Steve's going to have some really special shows for you with some special guests. I know some of the things that he's been planning, and it's going to be great. One would say maybe I don't even need to return because Steve just has great guests on.
No, I need you. You're my sounding board to make sure I don't do stupid shit. I will get us in trouble next week.
This will be hilarious. I'm super excited. I'm going to find out abroad because it'll be like 5 a.m. not 5, 2 a.m. 5 hours ahead where I'm at. Okay, so just real quick before we actually get into sports. So we lost an hour, right? Daylight saving times happen here. So when I go to Italy, it's going to be plus 5 hours. That's normal. Then the 26th of March, they have daylight savings time and jumps forward an hour. So then I'm going to be plus 6 from the U.S. Crazy.
That's stupid. But also, I love that. I love that for you. I love that for your body to just accumulate to an hour's change like 3 times.
I don't understand. I hope it never. We're just gonna always say like, hey, maybe we won't do this anymore to continuously keep doing it. It's just like us in the hamster wheel. Anyway, so Steve,
actually specifically that's us with USF athletics.
Just over and over and over. So we have our first sport that is complete for the season since we've started this, and that would be men's basketball. Stieg, what happened to men's basketball?
Well, they lost last Thursday to officially end their season. They lost to ECU 73-58 to bring their record to a 14-18 and 7-12 in the conference, which isn't good. And as a result, the University of South Florida and Michael Kelly decided to make a change at the head coaching position for USF. So it was announced Friday that sometime in the afternoon, I don't remember when, that they would be relieving Brian Gregory of his duties. I think they gave it like a very like formal, how do you do way. I know someone mentioned it in the Slack that if like, did it have an effect on, or not in the Slack, in the Discord, hey, did the way that they say this, they parted ways with Brian Gregory, that have any impact on what happened behind the scenes or anything? No, it's just a very nice way of putting it.
If you're writing that article, you're not putting has been fired because it just sounds so much more like aggressive. Mm-hmm. So it's parted ways. I always wonder in these situations if there was like some sort of like, does no one really know until the end, or is there some sort of like like something that happens like, okay, if X, Y, and Z don't happen, then what I'm saying?
Usually it's pretty metric driven,
Mm.
to a certain extent, but it's also kind of and I'm going to sound like an idiot here. It's also the vibes of it. Like I have a feeling if USF had beat ECU and then made like a good run against Houston, you probably think on your hands a little bit more. You're probably not as willing to pull the trigger. But a loss to that magnitude where USF was leading for with 10, or excuse me, was leading by 10 points in the first half to trail how much they did at halftime and then end up trailing as much as 20 points, kind of put the nail in the coffin under Brian Gregory's tenure. Here at the Daily Stampede and at the Roundup, we will say this to we're blue in the face. Brian Gregory, very nice guy. One of the nicest coaches that I've had the pleasure of interacting with in real life, at media scrums, at whatever. One of the nicest individuals I've had the pleasure of working alongside at USF. Truly a good man. Just couldn't win enough on the basketball court, unfortunately. It's a lot of similarities between Jeff Scott and Brian Gregory there. But yeah, nothing notable happened in the basketball game. There's nothing more to talk about there. So we're going to talk about the coaching search because that's what people are paying the good money for at this point.
Before I pass the ball to you on that one, there's just one stat I want to talk about. Steve did a really great write-up here, and he said, we don't need to talk about this. It doesn't matter. They shot 36% from the field, 29% from three, and guess what? 87% from free throws. You know what? We always said, hey, if you got that your free throw percentage, it's like 70% or above, you're probably winning half the games you lost. Well, they shot 87% and lost 73-58. So what the hell do we know?
Yeah, clearly we don't know anything. And great segue. When we get into this, I'm going to preface this that we know some things, we know a good bit of things, we know some tendencies, but this thing is being kept very, very close guarded to Michael Kelly, to Lee Butler, to the decision makers within the university. There's a lot of hearsay. There's a lot of, Twitter is just running amok with this stuff right now. So there's a lot of hearsay. So we're trying to filter out the noise that we hear from the internet versus what we hear from reliable sources and trying to piece this all together. Frankly, we have some good ideas on who they might be targeting for this, for the vacant head coaching position for the basketball team. But at the same time, from what I have understood, they haven't even begun scheduling interviews yet. So they're probably in the very beginning stages of vetting potential candidates. We still don't know if they're going to use a search firm. I'd be kind of surprised if they did, with how well connected a few people are within athletics administration. But they still have the option to use this search firm. They still, unfortunately, and I think this is probably a safe assumption for most people. We owe Brian Gregory $3 million right now.
That's a lot of pasta.
That's a lot of pasta. They restructured his buyout accordingly when they did the extensions a couple of years ago. But dude's owed money because he won a CBI tournament. Dude's owed money. So, you got to make do and you got to pay the bills first before you can start paying another guy. So I've heard that financials are something to keep an eye on during this process. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just something you'll hear in the background a lot. So knowing what we know, which isn't a lot, we know that there are some traits, some certain, obviously Michael Kelly at the helm here is putting a lot of leverage and putting a lot of eggs in this basket. He's got to get the football coach right. He's got to get the basketball coach right. We thought we had it right with football. And this is the first time that Michael Kelly gets to make a choice here with men's basketball. So we'll see how that kind of transpires at the end of the day. But history kind of lends to thinking that USF is going to lean towards looking towards an assistant at a power university to take the role for men's basketball coach. But that doesn't mean that they're only exclusively looking at those assistant coaches at like a powerhouse school, like a a Kentucky, Kansas, a Duke, whatever. But at the same time, the pool of candidates, when you look at the mid-majors, so, when you look around the mid-major schools that qualified for the NCAA tournament, the Colgates, the Charlestons, or College of Charlestons, the Furmans, a lot of those guys are going to get very high suitors. They're going to get the schools that have a lot of money. And this is where foreshadowing kind of comes in. There's a lot of money at these bigger schools, and USF doesn't quite have the money to keep up with, maybe going after a Bob Ritchie at Furman, or, maybe looking at a Frank Martin from UMass. But for the most part, they'll err on one of the two sides of that. But ultimately, the main trait that they're looking for is head coaching experience. That's kind of the trait that's been floated around the most. And I think that's something that we've heard from 5 different people at this point, including some of our more reliable sources. So I think it's fairly safe to say that they want someone with head coaching experience, whether it's recent, whether it's last season, whatever it needs to be. There's some other traits, they want, a guy that recruits well in the state of Florida, but you can't be exclusive to that. You want a guy that's maybe knows the area pretty well, but you can't be exclusive with that. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I would say you can probably put a circle around every single assistant coach within the Atlantic Coast Conference and make them a potential candidate for the job, because Michael Kelly and Lee Butler both come from the ACC, more specifically the ACC basketball realm of things. So I think you can safely assume any assistant at an ACC school is viable for this job right now. Some other more individual names that we have heard are Chris Capco, who is the current Southern Cal associate head coach. So not assistant head coach, associate head coach. He is a former USF player. Colin Sherwin, the founder or one of the founders of the Daily Stampede, is good buddies and knows him well. So that'd be cool. A few others that we've kind of just had heard just tossed around is Charlton C.Y. Young, who is the Mizzou assistant. He was the former Georgia Southern head coach, so he has experience there. He was the Florida State associate head coach for a little bit. So he was there with Leonard Hamilton for about 9 years. So he really knows the state of Florida well and helped with that turnaround. Another name, Frank Martin. Frank Martin was a name that was very popular last year. He is good buddies with Jose Fernandez, our women's basketball coach. You could probably safely assume that he is very interested in this job as well, because you want to go with your buddy and, you want to get those Miami guys together. And then a name that I have heard just floated around once or twice is Bob Ritchie, who is that Furman head coach. He's probably going to be the more difficult reach candidate at this point, because I think there's going to be a lot of schools that are going to be vying for him. He's turned around a pretty barren Furman program and turned them into a little bit of a basketball powerhouse there.
Mm-hmm. He's going to have a lot of suitors, and there's a lot of good openings that he could probably jump to that doesn't include coming down to Florida.
Right. And as great as the facilities are here at USF is, USF's conference is at least somewhat becoming more winnable now, but it's also becoming less talented overall. I mean, you're losing Houston, you're losing the number 1 team in the country, losing Cincinnati, you're losing a powerhouse program there, and then a school in Orlando. So, you're losing a little bit of credibility. I think I think the American ended up being like 8th in Ken Palm rankings last year for conferences. So,
And this is much like in football. You're seeing where your short list ends up, or who has you on your short list now that you're in a brand new conference setup. So doing it now versus waiting a year until you see what that conference ends up being. Now, granted, you're bringing guys like UAB, FAU just had a really great year. If they can keep their coach, even like North Texas has had some good years recently. To where, I mean, it's not the same. Don't get me wrong. You're not replacing Houston and Cincinnati, but there could be a little bit of a jump there. So, I mean, I like Chris Capco. Liked him here at USF. Worked really, really hard. If he really wants to come here as the head job, that would be awesome. I mean, do you think that just to talk to you, Steve, do you think that style of play matters or recruiting matters, or is this just someone let's get someone with experience who can build a program much like Alex Golesh when they hired him for football.
Right. This one kind of seems like in basketball, at least it's someone who is going to be able to weather the storm. You really want someone that understands what they're about to walk into. And I mean this in the nicest way possible, because this person, whomever the next head coach is going to be, is going to walk into a shitstorm. You've got 6 guys graduate, you got 7 guys that you have to basically replace. You got 3 guys on the on your national letter of intent that they can request off at any point because USF fired their head coach. But you have 3 guys, but then you also have to go right back into the portal, and you also have guys that are going to be leaving USF, for the portal, and someone who understands how that portal is going to work. And so a lot of I've been seeing the Rick Pitino stuff. I don't think a guy like Rick Pitino would fix USF right now. Maybe 5 years ago, Rick Pitino could fix what has happened at USF, because that was a completely different era of basketball. But Rick Pitino is damn near 80. Rick Pitino has been used to recruiting guys from high school off of name and off of stature, and now he has to go back through and recruit and basically turn over an entire roster at the same time as everything else. And you're on a very quick time block there. And that's not even speaking to the legal side of that.
Well, and also it's really looking like St. John's is a suitor for him. And if you can go to the Big East, then you go to the Big East. I mean, I don't see any reason to come here whatsoever, unless for whatever reason there wasn't any suitors.
Right.
I just look at the roster, and it's like guys like Ryan Cromwell, who had a pretty good, or Conwell had a really good year. I wonder if he was hurt. He only played 19 minutes on last Thursday. It doesn't really matter. But you look at the roster, and you never know who's going to hit the portal. In basketball, I think you mentioned in Discord, like, expect more than half the roster turnover at a lot of these schools too. It just kind of happens that way. And sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. You don't really know. It all just depends on who they bring in. But take your time, get the right guy, figure out what makes the most sense, and do it again.
Right. Exactly. Hey, look, this is going to be very familiar to what's going on with football. Funny how when you fire your football coach and your basketball coach at the same time, you get very similar storylines. I did just add one more name to the list. This is a name that is kind of getting tossed around every once in a while. Mo Spites, he is an AAU coach over in St. Pete. How it was put to me was that this would be the equivalent of hiring Deion Sanders, a very flashy name, someone that really resonates well with kids, but doesn't quite have that Division I coaching experience that they're looking for, but would very quickly fill seats. Not to make a bold comparison by any stretch of the imagination, but if Penny Hardaway was able to do what he did at Memphis with not a lot of experience in Division I coaching and doing that right away, and if we're patient enough, that might be able to pay off, especially getting a guy that does have such a name in the AAU circuit. But just another name to watch. Again, a local guy. I think he's worked at Gibbs High School for a little bit as well. So, just a couple names to watch. But really, I mean, they might pull a rabbit out of their ass at this point. We truthfully have no idea where they are at, what they're going to be doing. And Michael Kelly does not leave any tea leaves anywhere. That man is gone in a flash. He'll leave at 2:00 in the morning and come back at 6 a.m. And so I can't track flights. It's really annoying. And he probably knows that I know that.
And you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. So like you said, a lot of the Twitter stuff, you can see it. You can kind of put your list on. And the one thing that I just always feel like we need to get out in front of, if a name isn't on the list that you said, it doesn't mean that they were the, number 6, number 7, number 8 choice. It just turns out that was a choice that nobody else saw that was right there, especially in basketball. It's really hard to track these things because it's not like, look at a team. Their offense is really, really good. Let's look at their coordinator. It's like a lot of that, a lot of the way that coaching works, especially as a head coach with a smaller roster, it could be a lot of different factors in how good a team is. And it's not like you can pick out who the best teams were in college basketball and pick an assistant and it'll work out great. Look what Orlando Antigua did. You don't just go to Kentucky and pick an assistant and say it's going to work. And that's nothing against Orlando Antigua or any assistant coaches like that, but that's just basketball is such a different game than football in that sense, which is why it's like when someone mentions style, it's like, I don't think that really matters. You bring somebody in who can coach and then you kind of figure it out.
Right. I do think that they'll, again, this is Michael Kelly's first shot at this. They're going to be calculated with it. They're going to be patient with it. They have no reason to rush it. Like, let's be honest, the portal is going to be open for a while. The portal is going to be running rampant for the entire month of March. If they need to replace players, they can replace players. It's perfectly fine. I mean, that's what's going to happen anyways. I would.
I wish it was
just
that easy. It was just hey, we need guys who could shoot. You know what? Guys
Let's
who can
ball
shoot
and
and shoot free throws and play defense and come to USF. But yes, that's true. I mean, if you had 3 Tyler Harrises on this team, lot could have changed. All right, so we talked about men's basketball. Let's talk about the women. So I was shocked.
I love that millennial pause that you just gave that. Like, that was very dramatic.
I wanted to say, like, I hate saying disappointing or upsetting or frustrating because the women had such a great year and you ran into a buzzsaw and you played probably your worst game all season. So I couldn't really figure out a better transition, so I just paused. But I didn't get to watch this game because I was at work, and I just thought in my head, and this is just me being, a knucklehead. I was just thinking, oh, it'll be fine no matter what happens. And then I saw at what the score was at halftime, and then our friend Ryan T. Smith texts us saying, "What is going on?" And I looked at the score and went, "What is going on?" And let me tell you, Steeg, I haven't seen a performance like this in a long time. USF shot 18% from 3-point range, 4 for 22. They knocked 2 threes in the second quarter, 1 3 in the third, and 1 3 in the fourth. And Sammy Puisis, who had a monster game against Cincinnati, was 0 for 10 from field goals, or 0 for 10 from the field at 0 for 6 from 3-point range. Just how? How does that even happen? Was it like Fort Worth court like slanted? Like, what's going on here? Likewise, Wichita State came in, shot 47% from the field, 46% from 3-point range, and that included 50%, 3 of 6 in the second quarter, and 2 of 3 in the third. And they just were on fire. It happens. You just really hope it doesn't happen in the conference tourney, but it happened.
Yeah, shit happens. I did say that this American Athletic Conference tournament just felt like karma just throwing itself at USF fans for talking the amount of shit that they did against that we all did against Kim McNeil from ECU, having that discussion last week.
I didn't talk nothing. I said she was a very accomplished coach and did a really, really good job, but I still thought Jose should have won it. But then she went on and won the AAC and is now in the NCAA tournament. USF losing turned this into a 2-bid league that it likely probably wasn't going to be.
Right.
Which is wild.
So galaxy brain move by Jose, in my opinion, to make this a 2-bid league because, frankly, yeah, I mean, now the American gets more money from the NCAA tournament for having 2 participants. So, just look at that. I think someone like leading into the game said, like, what happens if USF loses this game? Does this affect their seeding? And I mentioned this in our talk track here. Frankly, the 7 seed was the highest they were going to get. They weren't going to get much higher than that. Like, looking at the NCAA tournament and how they seeded teams, what is considered to be a mid-major program like that was not going to get much higher than they were. And so to me, an 8 seed is very fair for them.
I would even say, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, I think like an 8-9 is almost more of a punishment than being dropped to like a 12. Like, because that's always the toughie, especially when you're in the the tournament number 1 seed, South Carolina's region. So then you play them second. And the hardest thing for USF has always been they get this 8-9. And if they win that first game, they run into a buzzsaw, which again, you can't. The South Carolina is a elite team, historically elite team. You can't expect to beat them. You can't expect to really hang with them. But as was said before, we do have a game before that. They do play Marquette on Friday at 11:30 in the morning. So if you guys are around, watch that game. See what happens. Last year was also a similar 8-9 game when they played Miami of Florida, and they lost that game. So if they get Marquette, and they're going to need to play a really, really good game against a good Marquette team who's played a good team or a good Big East schedule.
We might be doing something special for that game, but we'll stay tuned on that.
That's what we call a teaser.
A little teasing action.
Mhm.
Yeah, Marquette's not a pushover by any stretch of the imagination either. So this is something to watch. They ended up being 13-7 in conference in a very tough Big East that includes both Creighton and UConn women's basketball. 21-10 overall. They're a pretty solid program this year. Again, seeded very, very fairly. Looking at the the hot money and where everything's going and how things are being projected. A lot of it's kind of going back and forth between USF and Marquette. I think this is probably one of the more difficult 8-9 matchups because USF didn't do well in their previous outing, and Marquette had to play UConn in their previous outing, and there's just a lot of variability there. I have been seeing more of the trends going towards Marquette here. And I think that's fair. I think Marquette is a very solid program. They have a very good coach this year. They have a few all conference players as well. So Marquette's not going to be a walkover, pushover by any stretch of the imagination. And then, of course, you win that game and, you can pat yourself on the back and start packing your bags when you get back to the hotel after. When you head back to the team issued hotel and just get ready to get your butt whooped against South Carolina.
I like to believe, but yes, they'll need to play their A game. 11:30 is really early, and the game at the game against Wichita State was at noon. I'm not certain if any earlier. At least you're on the East Coast still, but there was 6 games between Cincinnati that win against Cincinnati and the conference tournament. I'm not sure if that meant anything. Just like they had a long break between SMU and when they lost to Houston, so sometimes those breaks matter for some teams more than others. That's just something to look at. So now you have another 6 days. Wait, what is Friday? Okay, yeah, you're gonna have 16 days between games, so that's a lot. Well, not 16 days. Hold on.
Honestly, schedule call University of Tampa or call local women's basketball programs in South Carolina or anything like that, and schedule a scrimmage. Someone did that. Gonzaga did that. Gonzaga scheduled like a game against like Chicago State, because West Coast, the WCC did that really weird bracket, right? And so Gonzaga didn't play for like 12 days.
Yeah,
didn't play an actual game for 12 days.
So they swapped it, so they could play something just to get another game on the books, and that sometimes is important. I mean, basketball is one of those weird sports. It's really good, like in these tournament situations. If you get hot, you can ride that momentum through. So when you're not, and again, you just have an ice cold game, and you can't, and your defense can't stop the other team offensively or defensively rather. It happens, and again, it sucks. It's in the conference tournament. You don't want that to happen. You still won the regular season. You got an 8 seed, which is fine, but go ahead and figure out how to come out strong against Marquette. I would still consider this a good year if they could win Marquette, considering. But it does stink that UConn leaves, and you think that you have the ability to be the new to be that new top tier team. That first year you win the double. Second year you don't. Third year you win the regular season, but you don't win the conference tournament. But hats off to ECU again. Karma for talking smack about ECU's Kim McNeil winning the Coach of the Year award, I guess.
Oops.
Whoopsie daisy.
Oopsie oh well. Yeah, so we'll look for that on Friday. Something to watch, but yeah. I think it's a successful season one way or another.
And more to come if you're able to watch the game wherever you're at work or at home. There might be something exciting that we'll tease.
Yeah, proper tease. And then and halfway through the show, halfway through our hour-long thing, and we're 2 sports in, we're blazing through.
Rapid fire tennis. Pickleball.
Men's tennis, they should move up in the rankings. They're still ranked number 64 in the ITA. They are 8-9 on the year. They had a doubleheader sweep over the weekend, which was fantastic to see. So that will definitely help them move up the rankings.
Needed it.
They won 4-0 over Pacific, University of Pacific. Quite a tight doubles point, but they pretty much just completely swept through the singles. They didn't have much, worries at all. Elijah Cham Tom Hussein and Alvin Tudorica won their games in straight sets to secure the match victory for USF, which was a good thing that they did it so quickly because David Tortera, Eric Gervalius, and Bruno Oliveira were all in a very, very tight match. I think two of them were losing even. So, oh no. Good thing you won very quickly on your singles courts.
I always wonder when it comes to like their career stats, it's like it's unfinished. Oh man, guess I don't have to take that L.
No, really, it doesn't. Like it doesn't count for them
Mhm.
if they go unfinished. It's a strategic thing that'll tennis coaches will do sometimes.
Legit, just got exercise.
Right, just run around for a little bit. Next on Sunday they played University of North Carolina Wilmington. A little bit of a tighter match, but they still won 4-3. They lost the doubles point, unfortunately. Oh wait, no, sorry, excuse me.
It was tight.
They won the doubles point.
They won it, yeah.
Yes, they won the doubles point. Bruno Oliveira and David Tortera ended up securing the win for them there. David Tortera ended up winning his singles court as well, in at least a little bit of a tighter game at first, 7-5, 6-0. Eric Gervalius lost on his. Alvin Tudorica won on his. Elijah Cham and Tom Hussein both lost their singles matches to draw at even 3-3. And then Bruno Oliveira ended up winning the match for USF. So that's great. And for David Tortera's efforts, he is now ranked number 106 in the country.
That's still good.
If you think tennis rankings are stupid, just wait. It's going to get even more stupider as the season goes on. So yes, number 106 in the country. So that is good to see that we are team ranked, and then we have an individual that is ranked as well. Again, I expect there to be a higher ranking for the team, and then a potential another player in the top as well. So
I'm looking at Alvin. I think he's ready.
Yeah, it might be Alvin. So next up, they have a game against UAB next Sunday, and they have an awkward amount of time off now. I think I think spring break has something to do with this right now for weird scheduling purposes. And then rapid firing tennis, women's tennis also got a doubleheader sweep over the weekend to put them at 7-5 up on the season. So they won 2 games up in Jacksonville. They won against VCU 6-1. They won the doubles point. Vito?
And they won the doubles point, and then they won the game or match, which is excellent.
Yes. So
Sierra Berry and Grace Schumacher won 6-1, and that is a really good combination. It seems like they're always going out and winning in really good fashion there. Marta Falsetto, Font, and Ireland Simmer won via forfeit. I always wonder what those, like, somebody get hurt or they're just like, I'm done.
So VCU, I found this out the other while I was looking through the live scores. One of the girls wasn't fit to play. Basically, the VCU traveled with 7, and the 2 girls, just one of them had like an ankle injury and just wasn't ready to go, and so they forfeited the doubles point there. So yeah, technically USF just needed to win 1 and they would get it. And then they cruised in singles. So Laura Pellissier was the lone blemish. She lost on court 3, but then the rest of them, Cluna Walsh, again, won on forfeit because there was no one for court 6. Sierra Berry, Marta Falsetto Font, Ireland Simi, and Grace Schumacher rounded all out with a victory to give USF a nice little boost there. And then they rounded that out with the next day beating UNF in the battle of the Stieg Kaplan abode, as I like to call it whenever these
happens
two
a lot
play.
with these Olympic sports. It just house divided.
House divided. We actually fight each other. We punch each other in the face for a little bit. But in normal USF women's tennis fashion, they lost the doubles point, but they were able to secure the victory in singles through a really gritty match. Sierra Berry did finally lose a singles match. It just so happened to come up against probably one of the best players in the country. UNF's Kit Giller. She is ranked number 85 in the country. She has won 11 straight singles matches. She has won every single doubles point that she's been on. She has dropped 3 total sets the entire season. so far, and that includes wins over Auburn and Duke. So she's pretty good. So Sierra Berry battled but couldn't win it there. Laura Pellissier, Marta Falsetto Font, and then Grace Schumacher and Cleona Walsh won all of their singles courts to secure the victory for USF. Oh, now I see what you're saying. To secure the win for USF. So again, a good doubleheader victory for the Bulls there. And next up, they have conference play for a little bit there. They'll play Cincinnati on Tuesday and then Wichita State on Thursday. So we'll see how this team stacks up against conference opponents. Vito, take golf.
I'm going to do one thing real quick because this was my reaction to finding out that Sierra Berry lost a match.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It was quite upsetting.
Did the audio come through?
Oh, yeah, it did.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad that worked out the way I thought it did. Oh, man. That's, yeah, so that was upsetting. But, hey, they still won, which is good. And women's tennis, before you move on, sorry, I was in GIF world for a second, and then I just went to a YouTube video. They're 7-5. Last season, they finished the year 7-16 and won their 7th game on April 21st. So it's a pretty remarkable turnaround from 2021 to 21-22 to 22-23 is what I'll say. That's actually really, really nice to see that. So women's golf,
baby. Yes.
They tied a 54-hole program record. I had to figure out how that was worded. 55-hole program record at the Trinity Forest Invitational with an 852 score. Final round 278 was third best 18-hole total in program history. The Uprising, baby. Hey, did you ever get texted back how to pronounce that one player's name?
Yeah, so I talked with Coach Erica. I forgot that they were in the middle of their round.
Just playing the match. It's like do not disturbs on, I hope.
So and because they went from the Valspar tournament the Trinity Forest right into the Augusta tournament, like not even like a week later. So I was like, I'll give Coach Erica a little bit of time before I annoy her on this one again. But yeah, so have fun with the pronunciations.
It'll be great. We'll get her on the pod so she can make fun of me and my bad pronunciations. So they finished third, 12 under par behind SMU, who was 24 under. Wow. And Houston was 14 under. Juliana Carmago finished fourth with 6 under. Melanie Green, who's the number 76 player in the nation, by the way, tied for fifth, 4 under par. And Lauren Heinlein tied for 10th with 3 under. And Alize Vidal tied for 31st with 2 over, and Leonor Medeiros tied for 43rd with 5 over. I'm going to start putting the pronunciations in here. The Valspar Augusta Invitational, the third round was suspended. They finished ahead of number 16 Okie State and number 24 Duke. Melanie Green tied for 9th, 2 under. Juliana Carmago tied for 12th at even par, and Lauren Heinlein tied for 22nd at 2 over. This was Melanie Green's 7th top 10 finish of the season. Again, she was very excellent at the golf. And next up, the last regular season tournament at the Chattanooga Classic, April 2nd through 4th. And then I imagine it's conference championship time.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they'll play each other in a weird tournament, usually at a course that
like one team's really, really good at. It's their home course, and it's like, okay, I guess everyone else is coming in second.
Basically, yeah, they really need to. For a while, and it was funny, for I think like 4 years they chose the what's the tournament in Tampa? Oh fuck, the Valspar Championship, wherever that is.
I thought that, and they would sometimes play at in Palm Harbor. I can't.
Yeah, we're talking about two of the same courses. They would play like the USF course, basically the USF home course, and we were like, fuck yeah, like golf's great.
Innisbrook.
Yes. We like, fuck yeah, golf's great, because we would win it every time. And then they like changed it to like Dallas, like just outside of Dallas, and SMU started winning. That was when Bryson DeChambeau was there too. And I was like, fuck, stop playing it in Dallas. Anywhere else.
Go somewhere else. That's not a home court, please.
No, it's all fun. I didn't write men's golf because men's golf is still going on according to the live stats, which golf's weird when it comes to their scoring because technically they played 2 rounds today at the Pinebrook or the Pinehurst Ross Collegiate Classic. So, but it's still going on. So these scores are current, but the teams aren't playing because obviously it's dark on the East Coast. And so they're like the scores aren't finalized, and so they aren't posting the final scores of the second round yet because they played first round and second round today. But as it currently stands, which is the weirdest thing I've ever said at 9:45 at night talking about golf, USF is second at the Ross Collegiate Classic. They are behind Loyola Maryland. USF is 10 under par. Loyola Maryland is 20 under par. So that's fun. Elon is right behind USF at 9 under. And let me look at the player leaderboard real quick because if he's still there, yes, Shabam Yaglin is tied fourth. He shot 69 twice today. That is not the most beautiful thing in the world.
Twice as nice, if you will. So the women they do the Chattanooga Classic and then the American Athletic Conference Championship in Brooksville, Florida, Southern Hills Plantation Club. Whoever wants to go, April 17th to the 19th for the women. I didn't pull up the men because I didn't think we were talking about the men, but we're going to talk about the men.
They'll play the final round tomorrow at in Pinehurst. We'll see if they can maintain second. Let's see if they can catch a team that's 10 under par. Or 20 under par. That's fucking ridiculous.
It's really hard to do.
Any other circumstance, 10 under, I'd be like, oh yeah, USF is crushing it. They're in second. It's stupid.
Oh, okay. So they have they're in the Ross Collegiate. They have 2 more tournaments, and then April 21st is the AAC Championship and the Pelican Golf Club in Bel Air, Florida. So both of them in Florida. That's pretty cool.
Probably because of weather.
Yep. I mean, can't beat it, especially now that it's darker or lighter later. All right, so we're going to talk about the bat sports.
Bat sports, hit ball far.
Hit ball. Okay, so baseball 2-2 on the week, and they had their first true weekend road series as well on the other coast. Some would say the best coast, if you will. So 2-2 is better than last week for sure. So they're 5-11 overall, so still have some work there, but again, still playing really, really good teams according to RPI. So they beat Pitt 2-1 on Tuesday, who's a solid team. The pitching staff heard us talking some crap last week because Nolan Huddy is the conference player of the week. And he pitched a gem taking the start against Pitt. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 10 Ks. And every time he got that strikeout, I assumed he did like the I can't even think of the name anymore. Now you're flipping out, Stieg, you dummy. Vito, you jabron. Okay.
They have a picture of me, Vito, Nate, and Seth in their dugout. And every time a pitcher throws a strike, they throw a tomato at us.
Yep.
On the wall.
And it was great. Instead of the Ks, it's just tomatoes. But the rest of the stuff, again, 100 runs, 6 hits, and 14 strikeouts. It's a really good evening against a good Pitt team. Tanner Mink pitched 2 and collected 3 more strikeouts. Riley Skeen got the save. So that was a good win. Hootie surrendered a home run with 2 outs and 2 strikes on top of the first and followed up with a single. And instead of the wheels falling off or having a situation where you start getting behind, he locked it down. So that's actually really, really good to see. And things with starting pitchers, really any pitcher as well, once you start getting that going. Kenny Powers, Seth Varnador with the I don't know why I could not remember eastbound and down. Kenny Powers. You know what I'm talking about. Yes. So that's what I was going for. What a great fella.
I don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about at all. I couldn't even.
Okay. Well, I'll have to show you a YouTube video. I'm not going to pull it up now because it's just like it's mostly expletive laden. Probably came out a while ago. So Bobby Bozer got an RBI single to score. Got an RBI single in the 6th, followed up by a John Montez sack bunt to bring it to 2-1. Classic midweek baseball, either a hits fest or a nothings fest, as our as our friend Nathan Bond always says. Midweek baseball is so fun because you never know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates. Okay, so for the weekend, they traveled to Long Beach State over the weekend, which I did not realize that their mascot was is it the Dirtbags?
They don't like their thing isn't the Dirtbags, but their baseball team is called the Dirtbags. They're the Long Beach. They go by something else, but they have like a historic baseball program.
Yeah. Didn't they win or get close to a national champion? Anyway, but I just saw like just so casually up there. It's like the Dirtbags game has been postponed. Like, oh, okay. So their original scheduled game that on Friday got postponed to Saturday with a doubleheader on Sunday because of weather. So it was a long outing waiting to see if they're going to play that Friday game, but they decided to delay it to Saturday. So game one, because of the delay, Bulls lost 8-0. Ethan Brown got the start, 4.2 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 Ks. Could be a lot worse, but then Bulls then used 6 more pitchers, and they combined for 6 earned runs, 9 hits, 11 strikeouts, over 9 innings of work for 7 combined pitchers. But offensively, the Bulls couldn't do anything, and I imagine they ran into a pretty darn good ace on their staff, who I just got to see this because I'm pretty sure the number was, yeah. So they the starter went 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 9 Ks. The Bulls struck out 12 total times. So
love that.
It's tough.
Found this out. I should have known this. Long Beach State does not have there's no thing. It's not like USF Bulls. It's just Long Beach State. They've gone by they go by the beach. So I wish I was.
This is great. No, I love that. What a bit.
I'm taking the Wikipedia article verbatim. One can see the cheer "Go Beach" written on many CSULB products written around campus and on the large water tower. They are informally known as the 49ers.
Oh. Well, that's less
informally. That's like the old. It's like the Brahmins, basically. But yeah, their baseball team continues to go by the Dirtbags. So,
I love
yes.
That's incredible. I actually love that. Have different names for each of your sports, depending. Like, especially if you're like the sport that does the most. Like sailing should just be like, yeah, we're not the Bulls, we're the
Sailing Bulls.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say sea cows, but that didn't work.
The manatees.
Something better. Manatees. Yeah.
Also, whoever scheduled this. Actually, I know who scheduled this, so I'm not going to talk too much yet. Worst weekend to decide to schedule this ever. Between the weather, the time change, and everything else that was going on. That game starting at 9 p.m. That game started at 9 p.m. Eastern. I was like, that game ended at, I think, 11:45 p.m.
Oh, it's tough.
I was sleepy.
It's like when football played BYU, and it was like the game ended at 1 a.m. over here. So game 2, Bulls lost again. What was the score, Stieg?
8-0.
8-0. How you even do that? Oh my gosh! And they had the same amount of hits.
I thought it was a typo. I thought USF just uploaded the same stat sheet twice and just called it a day.
Oh my gosh! Okay,
it was almost identical.
Yeah, the Bulls also only had 2 hits in this game, and they gave up 8 hits. I swear to God. Okay, yep, they struck out 14 times. Their starter, Nico Zeglin, 7 innings pitched, 0 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, 13 strikeouts. Wow. And they pulled him while he had a no-hitter going on. Sorry, that's just impressive. When you see like a good pitching performance like that, it's just impressive. That's all I got. Hunter Mink got the start, 3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 7 runs, 6 earned, 2 strikeouts. When you're down 6-0 in the first inning, there's really not much you can do about that, especially when you strike out 14 times against what I imagine to be a very good Long Beach State pitching staff and across the country. But the third game, I did 2. The third game, the Bulls came back and won. They were able to get that third game, and they won 6-2, and they collected 11 hits. I mean, if they could have like spread those out a little bit, maybe something happens. But 11 hits is fine. I like that. John Montez hit a home run. Jack Siebert got the start and his first win of the year. 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 3 Ks. Just a casual day. Riley Skeen got the save again. 2 innings pitched, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts. Bulls pounced quickly to a 4-0 lead in the first inning, and it was pretty much all gravy at that point. Nelson Rivera with 2 RBI double in the first, followed by Travis Sankovic with a 2 RBI single, and Drew Butcher added an RBI single in the second. So the bats were able to come alive for the third game, which is good. Dirtbags homered in the fifth to make it 5-1. And John Montez answered with his homer in the ninth to add insurance. Just to say goodbye to the West Coast. It got dicey at the end. Error allowed a routine ground out to end the game, score a runner to make it 6-1, and 2 runners in scoring position, but they were able to get the final out. So next up, we have Tuesday and Wednesday versus Dartmouth, and a weekend series versus Army. And I'm not going to say what Steeg said next because that's how you jinx them. But hey, winnable games here can get some good momentum going. He says before they go 0-6.
Right, of course.
I'm just kidding.
And I will say, the obviously the West Coast, thing is true. Traveling from Tampa, Florida to Long Beach is no small feat for a team to play a weekend series. This is a really good Long Beach State team. They are 9-5 on the year. They took 2 of 3 against Wichita State. They beat East Carolina in East Carolina. Number 9 East Carolina. Let me rephrase that. They're good. They're a good team. They're a historically good program. I don't want to call him friend of the blog, but I'm going to refer to him as someone I'm going to reference as a friend of the blog. John Kaplan, who helps out with Bruin at McEwen, guys. Gonzaga is the only team in the nation with a harder strength of schedule than USF thus far in this young baseball season. This is finally, and I said what I said in the in our talk track here for a reason, but they're finally getting a little bit of reprieve here against Dartmouth and Army. I don't think Dartmouth has won a baseball game. I'm jinxing the shit out of them is what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
But just stating facts, Dartmouth hasn't won a baseball game this year yet, according to what I looked at earlier. And Army started hot, but has come down to earth pretty quickly. Again, according to the Bruin McEwen guys. And again, just stating facts here. So there is a chance for USF to continue a little bit of positive momentum here.
So here's something weird because I just looked this up. I didn't believe this. So USF climbed from 119 to 110 in RPI after their couple wins this week. Long Beach State fell from 108 to 133.
The USF effect, baby.
Man, I got to imagine that's what happened there. That is funny. Okay, so they're not as high on RPI as I originally expected. Well, I knew they were above USF to start, but I didn't realize that they fell that much just by losing to them one game after beating them 16-0 in 2 of them. But yeah, the time changes always affect you, and just the games being suspended. You're trying to keep your arm warm, you're trying to get ready, and all of a sudden, go back to the hotel, go to sleep. Let's do it again tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Speaking of powering through, Vito, I got this one. I'm going to power through this one.
Yep, World Baseball Classic's about to start. We got to go.
Yeah,
softball. Let's do it.
Softball went 4-2 over the week. They are 15-12 overall in this season. On Tuesday, they had a doubleheader against UPenn. They won both games in extra innings.
In walk-off fashion.
Walk-off fashion, which was fantastic. I'm not going to go through the games themselves, but USF did a lot of battling in these games. They found themselves in a hole early in the first game, 6-0. Were able to claw back and win that. They were down 2-0 at the top of the first and the second game. We're able to claw out of that one after blowing a lead too. But overall, they beat UPenn in game 1, 6-5 in 8 innings, and they beat them 7-8 or 7-6 in 8 innings shortly thereafter, which is just hilarious. That is the first time that USF has walked off an opponent twice in the same day. That is going to be one of those really weird facts. That no one is ever going to get in USF trivia in 2072.
I'll give you a short reprieve here. So that was a good day. On Thursday, they lost 2-3 to Penn State. So not Penn. Bulls led 2-0 after 5 innings. They were looking good. Emily Hanlon, RBI single in the third. Rian Eigenman? RBI single in the fourth. Gave up 3 runs in the sixth to lose the game. That's where you don't want to give up runs there. But Peyton Dixon pitched a complete game. And again, she's still looking good. 1 hit and 3 unearned runs, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts. Friday, they lost 0-4 to Illinois. Gave up 3 runs in the second, 1 in the sixth. Jaden Martinez got the start, 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 runs, only 1 earned. So there's some errors that plagued the Bulls there. 1 strikeout, just couldn't get it going offensively. No biggie. It happens. What are you going to do? So Saturday, they get to play Illinois again because that's how these things work. Revenge, 2-1 victory. Peyton Dixon came in with the start, and when Peyton Dixon is starting to pitch, probably going to be a complete game. So another complete game for her. 4 hits, one unearned run. Again, unearned. 4 strikeouts. Sack bunt by Illinois in the 4th to get a 1-0 lead. Then Haley Bryant had an RBI single, and Megan Piero RBI triple in the 5th to win. So they literally flipped the script on their previous misfortunes. So Saturday there was a 2-0 win versus Marist. Jaden Martinez with the start and win. 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 5 strikeouts. You're really looking like you're having a nice little 1-2 punch there. It says Peyton Fixin, but I imagine it's Peyton Dixon.
Yes, I typed these very quickly in the early morning.
2 innings pitch, 1 strikeout. So Peyton Dixon's getting W's and getting saves. How great is that? Megan Piero, sack fly again in the 5th, and Rian Eigenman, sack fly in the 6th. I'm going to get that one right one of these days. I will pass it back on to you to wrap up St. Francis.
Yes, Peyton fixing to get this dub. We're going to go in on that one in a second here.
That one's amazing.
Sunday they played at St. Francis University. Fun fact: SFU versus USF. That was fun to see. Quite an action-packed first. USF won this game 9-6. It was 4-3 after the first inning. Marissa Triple-Peace, Haley Bryant, Megan Piera, and Kathy Garcia Soto all didn't really score runs. Let me restart that. Marissa Triple-Peace and Haley Bryant both got RBIs to give Bulls 2 runs there. Megan Piero drew a bases-loaded walk, and then Kathy Garcia Soto got a sack ground out, fielder's choice, to give USF 4 runs there. They added 2 more on a throwing error, which I thought was just I re-looked up the play-by-play to see what happened, and it was just going to be a normal, shortstop to first baseman, and the shortstop fucking skied this bitch. I mean, would have hit a fucking foam dome if they didn't have that net there. But throwing error resulted in 2 runs to give USF a 6-3 lead. St. Francis clawed their way back into the game 6-6 in the 5th before Kathy Garcia Soto got an RBI ground out to make it 7-6, basically the game-winning run. They added insurance later on. Antoinette Hill got the start. She pitched 2/3 of an inning, gave up 4 hits, 3 earned run, and 1 strikeout. Jaden Martinez got them out of that jam, was able to get a hit and 3 strikeouts. Peyton Dixon, again, statistically got the win because of when she came in and where USF was at in the game. She technically got the win. 2 innings pitched. She gave up 7 hits and 3 earned runs. I have never ever seen a stat line in a win like that. And then Vivian Pond got the save, 2 innings pitched, 1 strikeout to close out the game. We're going to talk about Peyton Dixon a lot in the future when we get more time and we're not in such a big crossover season. But Peyton Dixon is really, really, really good at at the bad bitches, Heath. Peyton Dixon, really good. She's a redshirt freshman for USF this year. She's incredible. She got 5 wins over the week there. She has a 1.47 ERA, a 1.11 WHIP, and she's now the new ace for the program. Bar fine none. We heard such good things about her from Georgina Korick and Ken Erickson at the beginning of the season, and we're finally seeing the fruits of their good fortunes. And the reason why I wanted to make sure to clarify a lot of the hits and runs and everything and earned runs there was because USF has 2 pitchers with below a 1.5 ERA, but they're giving up a lot of runs because a lot of these things are unearned. A lot of them are errors that are resulting in runs and sack flies and sack bunts and everything like that. So just some defensive inefficiencies that are happening with USF's team, but they're sitting pretty good right now. They have they're not last in the conference. They're kind of middle of the table, which I think is a pretty fair assessment for USF softball this year, is to kind of be middle of the table, maybe that 3rd team, maybe that 5th team, kind of bounce up and down. I'm going to just say this now.
Hashtag not last.
Hashtag not last. Memphis bat sports are really fucking bad. they're like 4-16 in softball, and I think they won like one game in baseball.
Ooh, I forgot
Yeah,
Memphis
they're-
had a baseball team.
Yeah,
If we're
right.
being honest.
But not to be outdone, USF has another really good pitcher behind her, true freshman Jada Martinez. She is 2-2 on the year with 1.01 ERA. Again, they're giving up runs; they're just not earned, which is a weird thing. We haven't seen much of Gabriella Nori. I believe she is injured, which kind of segues into coming up next. They have a doubleheader against Jacksonville on Wednesday, and then they have the South Florida Showdown because they need another name for a tournament. They play Lehigh, which is Gabrielle Nori's former university, Texas, Marist, Iowa, and then they play Texas again on that Sunday. So they got a quick little weekend there at the South Florida Showdown. Fuck, they just go through a thesaurus at that point, don't they?
All of them. Just all of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Not touching that. Yeah. So it's really good to be able to see that they look like they have a pretty decent 1-2 punch for the pitchers. And I know that this is always tough when you lose an ace pitcher, especially when historically good as Georgina Quirk, to figure out what happens the next season. So it's looking like they are starting to settle on in. So look forward to see the rest of the season, especially going into conference play. But yes, we will make sure that Peyton Dixon gets her due as we start moving past having to do all the sports. Okay, so USF sailing finished 11th out of 12th at the St. Mary's race. Only raced on Saturday, no race on Sunday because there was no wind. It's normally, I mean, I guess you need wind for sailing. I didn't really consider that one. Next up's the Duplin women's team race in Medford, Massachusetts on March 25th and 26th. And again, we're going to learn a little more about sailing one of these days because that's got to be a lot of there's a lot of factors there. But moving on, track and field. We're going to talk about our national champions, Steve.
We're going to talk about our national champions, baby. We're going to talk about national champions, baby.
National champions. Let's go.
Oh, man. Yeah, so USF sent 2 athletes to the NCAA indoor championships this past week. Nia Robinson competed on the first day. She competed in the long jump. She finished 13th in that in that event, which 13th sounds bad, but consider that to be 13th best in the country. In fact, her jump was 6.03 meters. If she did the same jump that she did at the AAC championships, which qualified her for the NCAA championships, she would have been, I think, second. And if I'm recalling the stats correctly on the top of my head, because the chick from UF set broke like a world record or something like that. She jumped like 6.72. And Nia Robinson jumped like a 6.62 or something like that. Like historically good jump to win a national championship, which is what you always want to do, which, hey, Vito, what happened in the high jump?
The high jump is our favorite jump with our good friend, Romain Beckford, a guy that is literally undefeated all season. And every time he would break a new record, probably owns half of the records in the USF record book, became a national champion by winning the high jump at 2.24 meters. First ever national champion NCAA indoor for USF. First national champion for USF since John Dennis in 1993 in outdoor 5K. Both Romain Beckford and Nia Robinson, both named to USTF CCA All-American team. Romain first, Nia second. So Romain Beckford, put some respect on the name. He has been killing it all season. A really great guy, really great to watch. And 2.24 meters is jumping very, very high.
Goddamn.
So some would say the Bay is jumping. Would they, Steve?
So, some would say that. So now and forevermore, we no longer can refer to him as Romain Beckford. It is now national champion Romain Beckford.
Always
as fairly as it can be. And this doesn't even include the fact that they haven't even started competing in the outdoor championships, here in the next couple of weeks. So something to look forward to in the next couple of weeks. Track and field is nowhere even close done, baby. They got time. We got some events to go through. A lot of room for improvements, but also a lot of opportunity for USF to bring in even more hardware back for this program that deservedly needs to be better than it is and is getting there, which is something that we are proud of as alumni of this university. So, Vito, we're almost at an hour. That was pretty good for with a lot of information to go through. With
I went through a coaching search. We did it all.
We went through we did everything. Jeez, we're so good at this. All right.
No, you. Fellas and Bellas, you know what? We both had the same fella and Bella because it was pretty obvious.
Yeah. I mean, special shout out to Nolan Hoodie for winning the conference player of the week. That's fantastic there. Trevor Sankovic, again, fantastic, played well. A lot of the softball players played well. Haley Bryant comes to mind. She had an outstanding weekend, but 2 unbelievable performances deserve 2 unbelievable shout outs. National champion Romaine Beckford is, of course, going to be the fella of the week. I mean, just putting national champion in front of anyone's name is fantastic. That is great to put USF on the map as well. And then Peyton Dixon, Peyton Dixon is just really fucking good at softball.
It's really good to see her come into her own because I know for a while I was like, who's going to take the reins? And 18 innings pitched this past week, 20 Ks, and that doesn't include the 9 Ks she had against Army last Monday, right before we did our show. So she did that, and then that first game against Penn, she started as well. So 18 innings pitched and 20 Ks in a week. That's not too shabby. A couple dubs and a save. That's great.
Just put her in when you need her. Yeah. So overall, I think this week is what we can categorize as it was a really good week for USF. I think the ends justified the means the entire way through. Yes, USF men's basketball lost, but we get to do a new coaching search. Yes, USF women's basketball lost, but we deservedly get seeded the way that we probably should have. So it all works out in the end, and now you get to get bumped in the first and second round against South Carolina. Have fun with that.
Yep, that should be fun, exciting. But beat Marquette.
Hopefully.
I think that's it. We got some baseball to watch, or maybe it's time to go to bed. I don't know, 10:15.
I looked at my watch and I forgot that I run, and I had my watch set to kilometers, and it said 9:15, and I was very confused. No, we're good. It's 10:15
kilometers. I love it.
It's time for us to go to bed.
And I will bid you all adieu because I will be back for April 11th because I'm going to be missing the next 3 weeks. Stieg is going to run the show, and that's going to be very exciting. I'm excited to see what he does. And by that, I mean the day after because I'll be asleep. So for the first time in about a month, Vendiamo il Toro.
How long have you been practicing that?
Duolingo is actually pretty damn good, man.
Oh, I love that. Go Bulls. We'll have a good trip, Vito.
Will do. And I'll see you on the flippity flop. Arrivederci.